Hi, I'm Ben Pope, and welcome to the latest edition of Coach's Corner. As always, I'm joined by Coach Steve Tirrell, coach of the Dean Bulldogs football team. Coach, how are you doing on this fine day?
Doing great, Ben. Doing great. Getting ready for another practice out there and moving forward to the next battle.
So, wanted to talk first about the previous contest we talked about on the last edition, matchup against Anna Maria during their
Homecoming game.
homecoming
Yeah,
game.
homecoming.
There we go. And a 45-32 loss, unfortunately, against those guys. Alex Cohen, you had talked about this on our last edition, that he was going to be a tough matchup as a quarterback, and he ended up doing just that at 60% completion, 450 yards passing, and 5 touchdowns in that matchup. So kind of wanted to talk about the pass game and the pass defense for you guys first, how you guys approached against Alex, and kind of your thoughts on what you saw from your guys.
Sure. So, talking specifically about the defense, we knew we needed to get off to a fast start, and we did. We got put in tough field position right out of the gate on our own 40-yard line going in, and 4 plays later they were in the end zone. So when they go up 7-0, always sets a tough tone, especially when we talk so much about getting off to a fast start, and that just didn't happen. Cohen obviously greatly improved from 2 years ago in 2019, and you could see that on the film. But even more than him, I'll tell you what really, in person, you can see it on film, but in person, they have added 2 wide receivers, 1 and 5. Those 2 guys were tremendous. They were big playmakers. They were big-bodied guys, and obviously made big plays against us. And they had 4 receivers that ended up being tough matches for us. And he delivered the ball well. And, we had opportunities to make tackles. We had missed tackles, some miscues that kind of put us in bad shape there. So, where we were able to really isolate them a couple of years ago and get after them and blitz them and control the tempo, unfortunately, we let them control the tempo against us.
Yeah, you mentioned Cohen really spreading the ball around. The 4 receivers that all believe went over 50 yards receiving, so they were all getting really into the action. But I kind of wanted to talk about the second half of the game where you guys actually outscored Anna Maria 19-14, kind of switching the momentum a little bit, like you mentioned. Weren't able to get out to a fast start, but had a fast finish.
Right. We talk a lot about, coming out and winning the third. And although we didn't win the third, we tied it. We had our chances. After giving up 31 points in the first half, we held them to 14 in the second. And a lot of that just had to do with just settling down and making the plays that were in front of us to make. Sometimes, unfortunately, when you're in a big game and you're over anxious and you're overly hyped, you don't have the best performance. And so it's all about learning how to play and keep your emotions in check so that you can play at a high level. And, once we settled down, we talked a lot about coming out of the half on just 1 play at a time. Yep. Just to settle back down, let's play 1 play at a time. If we had any opportunity to get back in the game, it was going to be by doing that and just focusing on the play in front of us. And we did. The game went back and forth for a bit. And, they got up by 3 scores, and then we had the big kick return that got us back into it for a touchdown. We had a chance to get the ball back. We had a defensive penalty that continued to drive, and that continued for a touchdown. So there were opportunities in which we had to close the gap. We just didn't take advantage of them.
Yeah, you mentioned the penalties that kind of brought you guys back, but honestly, turnovers was one thing that I saw from just kind of the game script and everything that really you guys weren't allowing. David Curry, his second straight game with 2 touchdowns, but also no interceptions. When he's not turning the ball over on your side of offense, that really gives you guys as much of an opportunity as possible. So I wanted to see kind of your thoughts on David, whether this is kind of just a development throughout the season or if there's been kind of a change in the mindset of how he handles the football.
Sure, I'll tell you, David, I love all my players. He'd been with me in the past and came back this year and has been a great leader for us, and he's not as a great leader, but he's just a tremendous young man. So to have such a high quality guy performing at such a high level, really, really excited for him and what he's done for the football team. What hurt us a little bit, though, he did have he in that second half of the game especially really delivered some good footballs in the pass game. We struggled running the ball. When we struggled running the ball in all of our games, we haven't gotten off to a good start. And, it takes us a while to figure out, all right, when we're not going to be able to run it, we got to kick it into gear and find other ways to move the football. And we finally did that, going into the second quarter, and then more specifically into the second half. We got a lot better at obviously controlling and moving the football. It hurt us a little bit also on that side. We got sacked a few times. And we've done great. We got a really young offensive line. Love them. They compete. Only one returner back there from 2019. And the rest of them are all young guys, first-year players for us. And they're doing the best they can. I'll tell you, I got no problem with what they're doing and how they're doing it. And they're coached really well by Coach Tracy, who's joined us this year as the O-line coach. They've done a great job. And it's that whole group. David makes it all run because he's the leader of the group. But we have an awful lot of weapons on that side and some they're not really returning players because a guy like Jordan Mason, he's not a returning player. He's a first-year player.
Yep.
He's an awful exciting player. And then Quintus and what Errol's done and he just put them all in there. Keyshawn and Mikey Bethune, unfortunately, we probably lost Mike maybe for the rest of the year. We're not sure yet. But, when I don't have Mike healthy and running, we just didn't have a lot of backup depth behind him. And so it's a work in progress from that position. So.
Well, I'll touch upon David. You mentioned having a quarterback as a leader. That's a great perspective because quarterback, honestly, unless they're one of the younger guys, honestly having them as a leader in the clubhouse is a really big deal because they're the leader of the offense, like you mentioned.
Whether you like it or not, that position requires complete leadership, on and off the field. And like you're saying, with a young quarterback, sometimes you don't get it the way you need it throughout the team, and you just get it in specific points in the offense. David's a great leader on and off the field. So he gives us that full-bodied leader in the program, guy at that position, and he just stays evenly keeled and shows up and plays and practices too every day. So I don't have to ever wonder if he's going to show up and have a day. He's always working hard at his craft and become the best he can do.
Well, that's a great thing to hear. And you mentioned with a run game with Mike and Keyshawn, who we alluded to her earlier, you did, had the 80-yard return on special teams for a touchdown that really changed the momentum there. Is he going to be kind of running as the lead back, or are you planning on running?
Yeah, so Keyshawn will take over as the lead running back for us. We're going to try to find some creative ways and some other ways to move the football, from a running perspective. But you got to really take an honest look at what you can do, right? And what what are we doing well, and how we can really emphasize those things. I learned a lesson a long time ago. You can't always improve the things you're not really good at. Sometimes you can try to get better at them, but it's more important to emphasize the things you can do well.
Yep.
And we do some things really well, and I think that's where our emphasis is going to go in these last 2 weeks of the season. The things we're doing well and how we can do them in the game to compensate for not having the running back and the run game that maybe we want to have or would like to have.
Yep. And we'll talk about the last two games now. We'll start with the matchup against Maritime College upcoming this week. Honestly, kind of struggling with their offense. They're averaging about 11 points per game on offense this season, where you guys, the Bulldogs, have been averaging 30 points in 3 out of their last 4 games. They've been really well, doing a really great job on offense. So how do you think you can really make sure your guys are level-headed into a matchup that, on paper, it looks a little lopsided offensively?
Sure. One thing I think when we're in this position, we don't ever think of anybody as being lopsided any longer, right? So it's even down to Keystone where you could say that some of the same things on paper,
Yep.
but obviously ended up in a dogfight of a game. And if you don't play for a full 4 quarters, you can let anybody in the game and have a battle. And they're going to show up. I know there's no quitting them. I know their head coach has done a great job down there. They're similar to us. They didn't play football for over a year. They got a lot of new guys in their lineup, similar to us. I think for us, it's not as much to worry about them as it is to worry about ourselves and how we need to win football games. The focus for us has got to be to eliminate the penalties, to really, play for 4 quarters, focused 4 quarters of football, and to really improve in our special teams area, and defensively to not pick our moments to collapse. Right, we got to find a way to play a 4-quarter game of defense and complement our offense out there, and really get all 3 phases working towards a win.
For sure. And just talking about the last 2 matchups again, not the season that you guys were expecting, 2-6 records so far, and you're facing 2 teams the last 3 weeks because you have a week off there in November in the first week, but you're facing 2 teams both under 500 in the conference. It seems like, what do these teams have to play for? What's the real motivator as a coach that you're making sure that the guys in your clubhouse are really staying strong, making sure that they're staying energized for these last two games, which are both in front of a home crowd. So you want to deliver the best.
Those are all great points. I'll tell you, it's a great question. It really is. And there's a lot of things in the game of football. When you set your sights out and your goals are as simple as, winning the opener, winning the conference championship, and playing in the NCAAs. Those were our three goals this year, right? That's what we wanted to achieve. And at this stage, we accomplished the first one, but the second two won't happen, right? And we know that. So now what are we playing for? For one, we play for our senior class. Our seniors that have dedicated themselves and have been here now for 4 years, kind of something new for us, right? Now that we're this 4-year program and we got guys going across the finish line, getting their degrees this year and having a 4-year football career. So we're playing for those guys first and foremost. Secondly, we're playing for Dean College, right? We take great pride in who we are here. We're Bulldogs, and we want to. We never quit. We want to always, represent ourselves in the best possible way. And the fact that we're playing these last two games at home are extremely important for that. That we show everybody here that Dean football wears that jersey with great pride, and we're here to win. We're not quitting. We're going to battle our way all the way through the end. We're also playing for the future. I have a lot of really good young players here that will be back. We were just going through the rosters about 10 minutes ago before I walked in, and at this moment we have over 70 players that could return for the fall. And that's a large, large number. We've never been in position to have 70 back. So this is our largest number going into a returning year. And a lot of first-year players on that roster. So those guys are playing for their future. And there's a lot of pride. These guys, I'll say one thing about this, Ben. This group had a lot of opportunities to hang their heads and sulk and not do, we've lost some battles. And they haven't. They've showed up every week. They've done all the right things I've asked them to do on campus. They do a great job. They came out yesterday in the rain and practiced their butts off. And as a coach, you can't ask for anything more than that. So I couldn't be happier with the way and their attitude. I just wish we had found a few ways to win a few more football games for them this year. But we can't sulk and worry about that. We can only control the things we can control, and we can control our game against Maritime Academy this week. So that's where the focus is.
And that's been just talking with you these past couple of weeks. I really think you've echoed just the importance of how much your players have really stepped up, stayed motivated, even though they're going through a rough stretch of games. They're really planting their what's off, and they're really trying to contribute as much as possible. So just talking to you and hearing that, it gives a lot of confidence for not only these last couple games, but like you mentioned, 70 guys coming back. They're going to be extra motivated coming back next year.
Yeah, you just look at the way we've played in the last few. We did not quit last week at Anna Maria. We battled right out to the very we almost scored again with seconds left. We ended the game on the 1-yard line going in.
Yep.
All right, we did not quit, and we did not quit the week before, and the week before that. We have not quit in any one football game we've been in, and we've played till the very end. So that is a great attribute to their belief in each other and to the character of this team, and to not just now but for the future of them as well.
Well, Coach, once again, I really appreciate you, and thank you for joining me here on the Coach's Corner. And I also want to thank all you guys for listening and tuning in to the Coach's Corner. Coach Tirrell and I really appreciate it, and thank you for checking out this week's edition. And we will see you next time.
Go Bulldogs.